What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. As you can see by the title and thumbnail of this video, we're going to go through my favorite UAD or maybe must-have UAD native plugins that you should have. If you watched my last video, this song is familiar. This is a song by a friend, Carly. I recorded this a couple years ago. I mixed it. Mark Daniel Nelson mastered it. If you're new here, please like, share, subscribe. I did go ahead and clean up the tracks compared to last video that I posted, so you can see that I summed a lot of the guitars together and the drums too. I mean, you can see I already balanced it for the video and stuff like that. Nothing perfect. So let's go through and I'll show you what plugins I'm using. The first thing you can see all the way across the session, besides the master bus, is this SSL channel strip. I've talked about this channel strip a lot. I'm sure by now you're familiar with it. For the drums, I have it all the way across the session, and for the bass as well. And you can see I even have it on the drum bus. For guitars, I'm using the API Vision. I personally do like using the API channel strip specifically for guitars. I don't know what it is, but for me, there's always this connection with API and guitars. I just think it sounds really good. In my opinion, I always think API sounds clean. I know that people say that there's a lot of, I don't know, I guess grit to it. To the API sound, but that's not personally what I hear, and maybe it's just the way that I'm using it or the way that I've used their hardware or the console in the past. I just think it sounds super clean, definitely super punchy, and I just like the EQs on it, so that'll be a big thing when it comes to the guitars. And then the keys, you can see I have the SSL channel as well, pad SSL channel, and then my master bus. I am using the Verymu. I did put the API 2500 because that is another one that probably my top two favorite bus compressors right here. It would be the Verymu. Actually, it would be the API first, then the Verymu, and then the SSL if I had to choose in an order. But right now I'm hooked on the Verymu, so that's pretty much been my go-to bus compressor probably the last month or so. And then, like I said, API 2500, can't go wrong with it. And we'll get to listen to both of those, and I'll set them up in how I would personally use them. And then after that, I have the Studer 800 that I'm using, and I'll talk about my preset and how I'm using it and stuff. But I personally do like just having some sort of tape emulation on the master bus. It's something I've been doing probably for the past year or so. It's just, for me, it's the preset that I've made, and also I like the way this plugin sounds and what it does to the low end and the top end. It kind of shaves off the top end in a really nice way, similar to what tape would do. I'm not going to say this sounds exactly like tape because I've only had so much time with tape, never personally used it enough to even have an opinion on it. But as far as the plugin goes, if I had never heard tape ever, whatever the plugin does is what I like about it. And then after this isn't a UAD plugin. I just have this for metering because I was getting levels. And then we have the Hitsville Reverb and Lexicon Reverb. I really like these two reverbs a lot. I have them in my template. And then obviously you can see that I just wanted to show that I have the SSL across those two, like if we were recording on a real console. The Hitsverb reverb I use a lot. Like I said, especially if you're trying to put something in a room, this is definitely my go-to for that kind of sound. And then, I mean, Lexicon 224, can't go wrong with it. It's a classic. It sounds really good. There's this one that Sean Everett used on Casey Musgrave's album. I think he said it came with the session, but he kept it. It's on here somewhere, but he talks about it in a mix with the master video. You can find it on the internet. And then starting back from the top, I have distressors ready to go to use on kick and snare. So yeah, another UAD plugin I would say that you must have, in my opinion. After that, I mean, the G-Bus, can't go wrong with it, especially the UAD one, the classic Blackface 1176 on bass. I do like this one a little bit better than the Blue Stripe. I know that's more grittier, but when it comes to bass, this is pretty much like a go-to, especially if I'm recording on the way in. I'll definitely try to use that if it's available. And then the pads, the pad sample that's in here, I like to, in general, I do like to use some chorus or Dimension D kind of thing. And this you can't go wrong with either. It sounds great. I mean, it's very simple, easy to use, and it just sounds good. So I can't really complain about that when they're easy to use. And then other than that, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. I would say these are my go-to plugins for sure when it comes to using UAD native stuff. And like I said, this is specifically native plugin. So as of this video, whatever is native, these are my favorites. Let me find a loop. Let's find a good loop in this song, and then we'll go through and just start mixing some stuff together. So let me do here. I really like this section, the bridge into the outro of the song. Gets really loud and dynamic at that part. So in reference to my last video that I posted, this doesn't have the vocals in it because I don't want the song to get taken down, because she did release it under a distributor. I just don't want to risk it getting taken down or flagged. All right, so let's just start with the kick now. If it needs anything, we'll see. Almost got myself. As you can see there, I almost forgot to turn on the EQ module and the dynamics module on this plugin, which is unique to this plugin. I'm gonna throw on some filter too, and I want to get rid of some of that snare and stuff that's also being bled into the mic. So yeah, pretty similar to, with the actual kick mic, except that I know that I wanted to take out what I want. I'm taking out the kick mic, like the frequencies, what I want the sub to fill in essentially. That's the idea that I'm having in my head. I'm like, I know what I want to use the sub kick for, so I just want to make sure that the actual kick mic doesn't get in the way of what I like about the sub kick and what its job is to, to be there. At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. So, I boosted a little bit at 300. It sounds like it's really round and punchy, in my opinion, where that's at. And then I took about, I don't know what this would be, like between 200 and 300, I guess, just because I feel like that's where the low tom and the sub kick were kind of got some beef right there. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of button head. So I took some of that out and then just a little bit of compression. So let's hear that together now. So you can hear with me bypassing both channel strips, not only does the kick disappear when I disengage it, or the sub would disappear too when I would disengage the channel strip, but you can also hear a lot of that snare bleed coming out as well too. And then let's try to throw the distressor on this, the actual kick mic. When I look at the distressor, the job is for me to get a little bit of distortion. I do like what the distressor does, in my opinion. I've said this before on my channel. I do think that the plugin sounds just like the hardware, if not pretty damn close. The way I like to use it, my go-to starting point for a distressor is to put in opto mode. So basically you can see right here, it lets you know how to set up the distressor in opto mode. If you set the release to 0 and you set the attack to 10, and you have to switch the actual ratio to this opto. What is nice about the actual plugin versus the hardware is that you can just click on the LEDs and it jumps right through it. If you're on the hardware, you'd have to keep clicking through until you get the right one. So just a little tip, but yeah, you can just click the lights or whatever. I personally like distortion 3, and I do like to link a little top end boost, I think, a little upper mid range boost. So yeah, let's just dial this in and see how we're feeling. So you can definitely hear, obviously with the sub kick off, obviously it's compressing, so a little bit of that bleed is going to come back, but I feel like in a more consistent way, it's also bringing up the room around it, not just the actual snare. So I think it sounds cool. Let's get started on the snare too. I'm going to copy this kick distressor over and give us a good starting point. So basically what I'm doing and what I like about the channel strip as well is the compressor for sure. 99% of the time it's going to be the first plugin, if not the second plugin in my chain, because I do like the compressor a lot. The compressor does a lot of work for me. But yeah, let's throw this distressor in. I copied the settings from the kick, so let's do this. Let's see what happens. Just throw it on. It could sound cool. I just kind of over exaggerated a little bit just to show you what it's capable of doing. But yeah, you can see, I mean, this thing, you can really pulverize sounds with the distressor. Yeah, let's set up the distressor and keep moving. I don't know. Like I said, probably wouldn't necessarily go for this sound, but we're just going with it for the video. Let's see what these times sound like, though. So with this tom, obviously we have a bass guitar coming in, so this could change a little bit. But I kind of just like where this, I don't know, a little bit under 300, I guess. There was some low end that I liked about the tom that's kind of pushing through the drums, because it's not necessarily you need to hear it, it's kind of like you need to feel it. Obviously, you want to know it's there, which is why I add a little bit of 3K and then just a little bit of compression and a little bit of filtering. This could change because once we bring in the bass guitar, we might need to make room for it. So we'll see. But let's move on to this high tom real quick. For me personally, when it comes to high toms, kind of want it to be still felt in a way, especially like I'm just trying to picture it like on bigger speakers, or like if you're at a concert, like you kind of want to still feel those toms. Depends on what they're playing, and like I said, depends on the song too and the genre or whatever. I'm gonna boost a little bit at 100. Feels good. I think for this song they kind of just need to be there too, but try to get as much feeling tone out of it as I can. Sounds good. Like it for what it is and the way we're moving. Let's keep it. Let's see, hi-hat. I don't know. Don't really need much to do with it. It's kind of just there for me. All right, let's check these overheads real quick. Let's see what's going on here. So another thing too, the way I personally like to work, which is why I like the SSL stuff, is because I like to do like broad stroke stuff. So you can see that the Q for me, I like to use like wide EQs a lot. I feel like it gets you to a more finished sound a lot quicker, in my opinion. But with the overheads, I didn't want to add, because now thinking about it, I remember just not adding too much sizzle to the rest of the instruments, like the snare, the tom, the kicks and stuff, because I knew I would do that with the overheads. Not saying that we would keep it necessarily, but for now, I just kind of want to fulfill what I'm hearing like in my gut, if that makes sense. So let's see what it sounds like. So yeah, just making it sound pretty. The room, let's see, I don't usually do too much with the rooms. I kind of try to keep those like natural, especially with this. Like I'm lucky that it was recorded well and that we, use a little bit nicer equipment. And obviously the players and stuff were great. It's a little bit easier to kind of just use the room, or like in this case, I also have a mono room, just kind of use them for what they are. So I'm kind of just going to blend it in and, we'll see. Let's see what happens. Let's kind of overcompress this and see what it does. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to get really ratty with it, the SSL compressor can definitely do that if it needs to. But to be honest, I don't really think it needs anything. Maybe just a little bit of filtering just to make room for like the bass or like the rest of the instruments. But I'm gonna kind of just keep it as is. Same thing with the mono room. That's just kind of there for dimension, or a back to front kind of thing. All right, so let's take off the plugins and turn it back on and see how much of a difference it is. So yeah, I mean, obviously you can hear there's definitely some crunchiness and some top end being added, but all in all, like just for using channel strips, the drums pretty much got cleaned up pretty well without using any crazy like parametric EQ or any dynamic EQ or anything like that. Just using a simple channel strip, a good one at that, and then a couple distressors. I'm gonna bring down the tracks. I am clipping a little bit, the bus at least. So let's bring the leave a little bit of headroom, and it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like we're consistently at the top every now and then, but let's see. Maybe we can tame it with this bus compressor in this channel. So yeah, I think with using a channel strip overall on the bus can be cool. Definitely making that kick come just a little bit through, adding a little bit more thump to the drum kit in general. I just added 50 hertz, and then took out a little bit of like, this is usually referred to like as a honkiness EQ, or not EQ like frequency range, which is usually between like, I don't know, 500 and 700, usually 6 to 7, but you can throw 5 in there. It just depends on the instruments and what it is. And then just a little bit of crack with the snare at right below 1.5K. No compressor because we know we're going to use the G bus real quick. And then just a little bit of filtering, but let's get this G bus in. So yeah, I mean, personally, my starting point with an SSL compressor ratio, 2 to 1 for sure. I'm not sure what the filter is on the UAD one. And then the attack, I always like 10. I don't know why. I do like 10 on what it does. I feel like that's a pretty like neutral attack setting. And the same thing with the release. I kind of like it straight up in the middle, 0.5. I just feel like this is like these two attack and release settings are like a neutral setting. Letting the transients come through, picking them up whenever it needs to, but then the release is in the middle. It's like holding it but not letting go. And then obviously just threshold is set to staced. And then you can see UAD try to trick us. They started off with makeup gain already, and I was like, oh, this sounds good. But then I realized that there was makeup gain already set at the default setting, so I made sure to restart that at 0, and I added, I don't know, I guess like a dB or something. But yeah, let's move to this bass. I was kind of looking forward to start mixing this bass. So let's see what we got. Give it a little bit more juice. So with this, if you've been on my channel before, you know that I mentioned 1,000 times in this video already and my other videos that I do like this channel strip a lot. And one of the main reasons I do like this is because of the transformer. The only way you can get this is if you are tracking with this plugin in real time with Unison technology. So through an Apollo basically. Then it will be available because this transformer button is only available in mic mode. So if you're mixing and want to take advantage of it, the way you have to do it is that you have to switch it into mic mode by hitting this flip button, just like you would on a console. And then you can see that the transformer engages automatically. You can still disengage it if you want, but this is where it sounds its most, quote unquote analog sound. You can start with the -20 pad engage and then kind of raise the mic. And I have it kind of memorized. It's like right here, I think. Pretty spot on. I kind of memorized it already at this point. So yeah, I mean, it could be cool if you want to get the most out of it. I mean, obviously it's pretty hard to tell right now what it's doing. So if you want to kind of just crank the mic just to see what it's actually doing, we can do that. So let me lower this another 20, at least what we think it is. Let's just slowly raise the mic level and see what it does. It's a pretty cool saturation that it does. If you want it to get really ratty, you can definitely do that. But yeah, let's see. Let's blend it in. Obviously, it's going to be hard to level match a little bit just because the distortion is going to be more receptive to our ears. Like our ears like distortion. Yeah, let's compress a little bit though too. Almost fooled myself. Added a little bit of, I don't know, I guess 80 or something. I felt like that's where it was like I could feel it, like that sub resonance and just that sub kind of poking through a little bit. Let's add the 1176. So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to make it sound more round because I think obviously the tone that we chose and the way it was being played kind of makes it sound a little plucky, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of wanted just to round off the bass, and I feel like with the 1176, I mean, you can't go wrong with it just in general. All right, now before we move on to guitars, let's turn on our bus compressor. If we had the vocals in, I definitely would have turned it on way sooner. Yeah, just wanted to go through all the individual tracks and figure out what we need to do, but so yeah, that's the Verimute. I like what it does. It definitely sucks the kick and the snare. It kind of like brings out the low end up a little bit too, which is nice. I have this Tom Elmhurst preset that I saw him use. He said it's like his go-to starting position for this compressor, so I just like watched the video and then I copied the settings and then I kind of tweaked them. And then let's set up the 2500 while we're here. And I also have a preset for this. This is Vance Powell's starting point that I saw him talk about in a video. All right, so let's compare both. Pretty much the API is already doing what I would want it to do. It's pretty similar to the Manly. Definitely sounds a little bit different, I think, in my opinion. I think the Manly is a little bit more round, but the API is just kind of straightforward, I guess, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just brought down the input just like the smallest amount, just a little notch on the Manly. I think it's kind of hard to match the gain just because it does do a lot, the way it adds like, I guess, harmonics and stuff. I just feel like the Manly is doing a lot more coloration than the API basically. The API is definitely more cleaner, but they both do a similar thing, especially with the drums in the low end. Yeah, it's almost like the drums kind of feel a little out of place once you hear it with the Manly or the API, and then when you hear it without it, and then we'll just throw on the Studer. So you can hear it's definitely adding a lot of low end. It's because of this preset that I made. Felt like the 900 has more low end than the rest. This sounds like too clean. This is to me, this sounded like more even with the low end and high end. This had more low end, and then these two kind of sounded more, I guess, like degraded, if that makes sense. Yeah, so the GP9 definitely sounds way more hi-fi, in my opinion. I don't know if that's actually what it's supposed to be doing or what the sound is supposed to be, but it definitely sounds more of the cleaner than the other three. The 900 that I've been using has way more low end. The guitar's already in, but let's see if we need to do anything to them. I'm gonna start with this. Yeah, I don't know if there's really much I would do to the guitars. I remember we used a Reverb, an original twin, but I remember we chose that one because we wanted it to sound a little bit more like vintage, I guess. So as I mean, if you could tell, when I was trying to add some high end, it was like doing nothing, and that's just because there really isn't any information there. So I don't know, but I also don't think I want to change anything about it. I think I like how they're sounding because I think it fits better in the track too. Also, got to remember that we have these keys and these pads that need to kind of take up that space. And obviously, if we had vocals, that would take up a lot of that top end. Yeah, I feel like with the Studio D, it's very subtle. It's doing something, but it's subtle. I think it's just because of the actual sample itself too. It sounds like pretty spread out, I guess. So there's really not much more to do. It might have been already affected or something. Like maybe there was like a stereo widener on there already. But it is doing something, but it's more of like a depth thing than it is enhancing the stereo field. It's kind of just like pushing it back, I guess. And like obviously this would be mono right now. And then so with that you can definitely hear the difference between switching from mono to stereo. And then yeah, with the piano, there's really not much to do with the keys or piano or whatever it is, because it's already like an affected sample, so there's really not a whole lot that I want to do to it anyway. But I do want to try some reverb on the drums just to check out the Hitsville. I think for the drums, I'll probably do like an overall EQ or overall reverb with the I'll do the Hitsville. Yeah, this is cool. You can move the microphones around. You can change the microphones. You can change the speakers, and then obviously you can switch between the chambers that they modeled. And then down here you have you can affect the actual reverb itself. So they have a low and high shelf EQ that they give you. You can add width. You can make it more mono. You can add some pre-delay, which is nice. And then you can affect the decay, which is probably something they didn't have too much control over. That would probably be unique to the plugin itself. I like the which one is it? The 44s, and I like them pushed out pretty far usually to start with, and then I just always end up using this one the most. Yeah, I just feel like the 44s, I mean, obviously they're going to be a little bit more full than the rest. So yeah, probably not gonna add it to the actual entire drum bus, but I do want to try the snare. I think I might actually adjust the what's it called? The distance, because now listening to it, I wasn't really referencing it as I was playing it, so. So yeah, something subtle. I think that's how I would use it. I think for the toms, I want to use the lexicon. I think for these, there's just so many options on this thing that I'm not gonna go through all of it, but we should try to find like a good. Oh, yeah. Let me show you this preset. So when I was talking about at the beginning of the video. But yeah, I don't think I'll use it for that. Let's try to find, let's see if there's like a tom preset or something. Or something close. Let's see this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the toms would need this actually. Just listening to it, just trying things. But now listening to this solo, maybe maybe we'll use a lexicon on this instead. Yeah, but there's like not really that cool like tom fills or anything going on, so it's like not really trying to put any reverb on it to make it unique. But this sounds good. I'm gonna go back to that preset that I have saved. Just this. Oh yeah, so let's see. So this is the preset that I was talking about. Is this atmosphere preset? Just has like a super long decay. It could make something more interesting, I guess. Yeah, I would probably do something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the plugins we went through, all the ones that I would use, all the ones that I think people should have. I feel like these are a lot of staples too. So SSL, E channel, distressor for sure. What else? Oh, we had the G bus, and then we had the 1176. API Vision, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, and then the Studio D, Varimu. I would definitely get the API 2500 if you can. The Studer definitely should have that, or the what's it called? It's the other tape machine they have. Whatever the other tape machine they have is good too. I demoed it, but I didn't buy it. The Hitsville chamber can do a lot with that, and then the lexicon. But yeah, let me know if you pick up anything. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.